Okay, awesome. So as I've said, there's the new entry level certification called Cisco Certified Support Technicians entry level certification, and the reason why Cisco has decided to run these to launch these new certifications is they realize that not many people are willing to take the associate level kind of examinations because maybe they feel that they're not ready enough. So that is why you can see they have launched, I think, two, right? Yes, one in cybersecurity and another one in networking. So you can see there's free online training, and the first date to start testing is in next month in April 2023. You can check on the exam topics, the free e-learning, and all these. Kindly take advantage of that, and you'll be able to understand. Maybe Cliff is going to tell us the importance of maybe looking at what? Looking at this professional certifications. So you can see it has some different 5 topics: essential security principles, basic network security concepts, endpoint security, vulnerability assessment and risk management, as well as incident handling. So it's an entry-level certification. That doesn't mean that you can really do much in terms of the professional level, but it can really give you an idea of all these. I know we have e.t.c certification, IC squared certifications, but still this is a step in the right direction with regards to what Cisco is doing. So I think with that, it's 8 minutes past the time. Let me stop my share. Hopefully, thank you so much. I can see Martin, you're seeing you joining from Chuka. I can see, okay, let me start from the top. I can see Brian joined from Nairobi. Nice. From inside your car radio. I hope this session is going to be insightful for you. We have Lynette Kiunga joining us from Kenya. Kenya is big. Can tell us. Then Bridget from Egerton. We have Alan Kosgei from Tennessee in the US. We have Martin Nyaga from Chuka, Katiku from Nairobi, and Rob from Limu. So keep on telling us where you're coming from. Without further ado, I think I'll bring on Cliff onto the stage, and I'll be able to tell you more about Cliff before he just joins us and tells us what he has for us. So let's get on to this and see. So Cliff is a manager in PwC. I think that is PricewaterhouseCoopers Ireland, the cybersecurity and privacy team. Is the manager of the team. He has 12 years of industry experience with over 4 years in various roles in cybersecurity. So Cliff has expertise in enterprise information security for multinational companies. And what he does is he develops and coordinates and leads cybersecurity programs and together with the teams to ensure that they improve the security defense of organizations, managing and reducing digital risk in the organizations, and influencing the cybersecurity strategy at all levels of the organization. So Cliff has a degree in networks and communication systems, and he also holds a number of certifications, notably CISSP, CISA, and different security, cloud, and network certifications. So without further ado, welcome, Cliff. Thank you. Cliff, can you hear me? You can unmute. I don't know that. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I lost you there for a bit. Thank you so much, Kevin, for the kind introduction. I think just before we start, can we ask the attendees on today's webinar to just share on chat where you are in your career journey right now and what you're looking to achieve from this conversation. I think that will give me a context on how to approach this. I don't want to make something that's quite irrelevant to the audience. So just let's take the first 5 that come in. And then from there, I think that will set the contexts. If you're a student, if you're a working professional, if you're looking to move into cybersecurity, if you have a few years of experience, just mention that on chat. And then now that will inform how we approach this. Kevin, are you on? I can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Okay.
I was just saying what Shadrach was putting on chat. He says he's on a cybersecurity pathway to become a professional. I think it's a nice way of saying I'm a student. I don't know. I don't know whether that's the case. I can see Jennifer is saying, I think she's a student at Mount Kenya University. Nelly is also a student. Let's go on. Let's all participate in this and just tell us. Rob is instructing in cybersecurity, is teacher. Bridget says is currently taking some Cisco certifications on CyberOps Associate, CCNA, and DevNet. And she also got some certifications already. So Martin is saying currently studying a cybersecurity course with IBM. I think that it should be the one on Security Plus, if I'm not wrong. And then Martin Yagi says currently, okay, that is the same one. Systems administrator transition, who is transitioning to a cloud role. Steven is a systems admin. Then we have Gilbert, who is studying MSc in information security and working at a level 6 hospital in Nairobi. And then Daniel is saying he's a beginner in cybersecurity and he's looking forward to joining the industry. He's a student at MKU. Rose Jane is also a student. Hudson is also I think this is past webinar and he's also a student at Tharaka University. So those are some of the few that I've caught there.
Interesting. So we have a very varied audience. I'll try and make this relevant to all of us. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, sure. Yeah, your screen is visible. Maybe people can confirm in the chat. Yeah, you can confirm that Cliff's screen is visible on your end. Thank you, Alvin. Alvin has confirmed.
Okay. So the WebEx thing just went on a minimal thing, and I don't know what I'm presenting, but that's fine. We'll keep going. How do I maximize this window, Kevin?
You can, so you already shared your screen, right?
Yeah, and then it became like a small window.
Okay, you can check on you can hover over that screen and you can see some icons, maybe.
Yeah. Expand window to show it here. Well, we'll work with what we have, right? So some of you are students, some of you are already working, some of you have experience, some of you are looking to switch jobs. So I'll try and make this relevant to everyone on the call. And that means I'll be more generic than specific. And just about 8 steps that I'd like to share with you in the next 15 minutes on how you can position yourself to land a job in cybersecurity in Kenya or abroad or anywhere else for that matter. So, number one, many a times we're applying to jobs without understanding, having a full view of what we're applying to. And the best way to approach this is first that you just go online, collect a ton of job descriptions. I mean, if you're a SOC analyst, or if you want a job in vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, or just say cybersecurity jobs, cybersecurity entry-level jobs, and collect a ton of those job descriptions and read through them. So when you read through all these job descriptions, you'll discover some patterns. You'll see some patterns that are common to many of the jobs. You'll find maybe they want you to have some networking experience or some networking knowledge. You might find that out of maybe 10 job descriptions that you've collected, 8 of them are asking you to have maybe CAH or CISSP or CISA or whatever that is. So those patterns will help you understand how best you can position yourself to land a job in cybersecurity. So once you do that analysis, you can then decide which job in cybersecurity you want to do. And we were having a chat with Kevin today, sometime in the day. And there are so many paths in cybersecurity. And just from the analysis of the job descriptions, you can have a feel of what those jobs expect of you. So from that expectation, then number 2, you can decide which jobs you want to get into, or maybe other general jobs as well. So number 3, you've decided on which job you want to do. You've looked at job descriptions, you've analyzed them. Now, you can decide on a handful of companies that you want to get your job, to get the job, right? The cybersecurity job. Why this is important is because you have collected a number of job descriptions. You'll find that one company, if they have put out 4 job descriptions this year, 4 last year, 4 the other year, the pattern is the same, right? That company requires a certain type of people with a certain type of experience, with a certain type of certifications. And because you've decided and you are targeting to be employed in this company, you can now concentrate in fitting to the requirements of the company. So the challenge that comes in when you've not decided on the number of, on the companies that you want to get a job in, is that you try and do everything. And sometimes that can work against you because you kind of know a lot of things, but you don't fit anywhere specifically, per se. So after you've decided on the job you want to get, you decide on the company you want to get the job in, and then you fit your skills to that. Sometimes if you already have your skills, you could find a company that fits the skills that you have, so that it's actually an easier way in. Number 4, you need to build your skills according to the job descriptions, according to the requirements of industry. Sometimes, we might feel like we have the experience, we've probably taught in others for a while, maybe you're in academia, you want to get into industry, you probably have 10 years of experience in academia, but when you try and apply that, apply for jobs in industry that are 10 years experience, you'll be turned down mostly because they don't see the experience that you've also built in industry. So you have to build the skills according to the job descriptions that you've collected, and you've decided these are the jobs that I want to concentrate in. So you need to tick your CV to cover the required skills, and that is the skills being mentioned in the job descriptions, right? So sometimes you can sit down and say, I think I'm good at doing this, and then you put that in the CV. But that does not talk to the needs of the employer who wants to employ you. So working backwards, starting with the job descriptions and working backwards to build that skill, using those job descriptions to build your CV, now will help you be better positioned to land a job in the cybersecurity space. And that's not just in cybersecurity alone. That's also across in the other field, in IT or any other field that you have, that you're looking to get a job in. So number 6, apply for the jobs. So you have read the job descriptions, you have decided which jobs you want, you have decided which company you want to get the job into, you've built your skill, you've worked on your CV to meet the job descriptions. Now it's time for you to apply for the job. So apply for the jobs, consistently do that, set some time every day to do that. If it's a couple of hours, you know, looking for a job is a full-time job in itself. And you dedicate some time to applying for the jobs. And without a doubt, if you have done step number 1 to 5, you are at least going to land an interview. So this is where a differentiator comes for many people. You've done step number 1 to 5 very well. You've applied for a job, you've landed an interview. And, you know, many of us, you know, just sit down and for the maybe few days to the interview, you know, trying to read everything, you know, trying to get our minds around everything, so that when you get into the interview, whatever they ask you from whichever angle, you can try and answer. Well, that could work for some people in some cases, but I'll strongly advise that number 7, you reach out to the people in the company, right? To get information about the role that you've applied for, about the salary ranges, about the possible interview concentration areas, about their pain points. If you do this, for example, if you've set up your LinkedIn profile, you can reach out to people. You can reach out to 10 people at a time. Maybe 2 or 3 will get back to you and they'll be open about it. They will share their experience. They'll tell you about their company. They'll tell you about the salary ranges. They'll tell you about possible pain points in the company. And when you get to step number 8, where you get into the interview, you're more positioned to give solutions or discuss issues around their pain points, around the things that they want to address. And you're more desired candidate than others because you understand the environment, the environment that you're applying the job to. Before I continue, Kevin, any questions? Any questions?
No questions yet from how I see in the chat. Maybe if there's anyone who would like to ask a question live, you can raise your hand and I can bring you to the stage, and so that can maybe ask your question live. So this is an interactive session, it's not a lecture.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a number of people are students, so maybe they feel like you should sit back and relax and wait. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and I can bring you to the stage and you can ask your question live. So far not yet, Cliff.
Okay, all right. So it's pretty easy. Start from the end backwards. Start from the job descriptions, because that's where you want to get to. You want to get to land the job. Understand what the job descriptions require of you. Make sure you align to that, to those requirements. Tweak your CVs, talk to people, get to know people. Yeah, and the people will always share with you information that is crucial for you to land the job. So I think from what we've said is that it works against you when you're looking for a job and you're probably just working alone, you know, mostly just seated down, applying for jobs and doing that sort of stuff. Getting out to talk to people, whether it be on social media or even in events and the like, will give you ideas on, you know, what the companies you want to land a job in are all about, what tools they use, what their pain points are, and what kind of people they want to hire. And not just that, When it comes to the interview, assuming that you've done number 1 to 6 very well, the people that you meet at the interview, if you've met them before, maybe in person in events or even on social media, discussions and the like, you'll be more favored against the other candidates because we're human beings and we're comfortable working with people that we've known before over people that we have not known or seen or who we are familiar with. Yeah, so Kevin, that's it from my side. I think now we can dive into questions and any other items that we need to touch on.
Yeah, that's a nice way to end your presentation because remember earlier, sorry, I not started my video. I remember earlier in the day when I was asking you, like, people find it very difficult to land a job in cybersecurity, and most of the time the people who land the jobs are the ones who have been able to interact. Maybe you've met in a conference, you've met at on LinkedIn, somebody even you've been having maybe a mentoring relationship with them, so which is quite good. So please, you can ask your questions. I can see we are around 42 of us here, so don't limit your questions. I can see Daniel says fields in cybersecurity. Maybe Daniel, if you want, I can ask you to unmute and you can elaborate more on what you mean by fields in cybersecurity so that Cliff can answer it better. Let me see if I can find Daniel. Okay. So maybe Daniel, if you can unmute and say what you mean by your question, or you can post it in the chat if you are unable to speak. But if you can unmute, and still you can also ask. You can still also ask questions, anyone. And also don't forget you can use the raise hand feature. And I can see someone. Let me just can ask. I think that's Gilbert from MemoH. Can welcome. The floor is yours.
Hi.
Hello, hi Gilbert. You're muted. I've unmuted you again. Don't mute because you'll not be able to unmute.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Previously, I unmuted them. I think you were talking and then I couldn't hear you. Now, where should I start? It's a huge challenge, especially when we meaning any person who is transitioning from maybe application support or generally the IT lead to now InfoSec and concentrating maybe in network security, pen test, or GRC, that's governance, risk, and compliance. Any opportunities that's come on board, you kind of get a lot of discouragement. So the other day I was called for an interview. I was told by the HR I did very well. We even went to an extent of discussing the salary. But now, after like 1 week or so, I got a feedback that unfortunately a regret feedback. And when I followed up, I heard that it was due to my experience, especially when you have a company in your beginning and information security docket, and previously maybe the people you had a company, you had acquired your services from a third-party company, and now you want to begin an InfoSec department. So I don't get it, and I asked the HR why on LinkedIn, why didn't you give me a chance? Because if you're talking about experience, for me to garner that experience, I need to get the work.
Yeah.
And for me to get the work, I need to get that experience. Then secondly, I saw an advert today on Absa Bank on InfoSec. 5 years technical experience, and what I thought it's people like us who you're previously in another side of IT. Now you have enrolled in InfoSec. You're doing MSc. I'm also trying. I'm working my best to be certified in CH ethic working by the end of April. I'm wondering how can we get opportunity, or we become patient until maybe we get that experience, or we get a good luck from not, I don't know where. Thank you, sir.
Cliff.
Where do we start here? I know you talked about quite a number of things, right? So Kevin, where do we start? Like you said,
I
where do
think
we start?
let me structure it for you. Maybe you
Yeah.
can start with the issue of experience and the issue of like you can go through this whole hiring process, everything goes well, and then you get that regret. Maybe you can start from there.
Yeah. So I think what you have mentioned is like, some of us have some experience from other fields of IT, and it's not necessarily in cybersec, trying to break into cybersec. There are multiple ways you can get experience and structure it. And sometimes it's not that you don't have the experience, and it's just maybe about, structuring it in such a way that it appears appealing to HR who are not from a technical background, right? When you tell HR I've been in networks and is looking for a security person, definitely networks has a lot of security components, but HR does not understand that. They just understand that, this guy does not have experience in cybersec. So it's also being in the shoes of those who are hiring and trying to tweak it in such a way that they get to understand. Assume that the person reading your CV at some point is not technical enough to know about cybersec or any other field in IT, and then you have now to tweak your CV in such a way that it appears that you have, it shows that you've had experience in cybersec. Whether you are responding to audit queries at work, whether if you are doing networks, you're probably configuring, access control lists, you're configuring, rules on the routers and everything like that. All that is security. Now you just need to reward it from network engineering to network security and things like that, and show that you have the experience. So interviewing is also an art, and it takes practice. It takes trial and failure until you make it. So it might not be that the first job you apply for is the one that you land, but the more you keep working at it, tweaking and improving, the more you get used or experienced and learn the art of interviewing. So just apart from experienced in doing it, you need also to take your time to sit down and learn. There's a ton of courses that you can take on interviewing as well that show how do you build trust between you and people that you've met for the first time over an interview, and they probably want to give you a permanent job. It's quite some effort and work goes into it, and preparation as well. So what else, Kevin? There's quite a number. I don't think
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out what you've just said. We usually put a lot of work in getting the certifications, the CISSPs, the CH, but we really don't put it in the same kind of effort in preparing for the interviews, which is basically the gate between between the other side and the role and what you've been working at. So it's very important. Check out these people who give a lot of tips on on the maybe cybersecurity interviews, how they go, the social skills, the posture during an interview, all these
The
kind of
dress code.
elements, the dress code,
Yeah.
exactly. All these
Things
things,
like
put a
that.
lot
Yeah.
of work into that. Don't just get your certification and think, I'm done. Let me just start applying left, right, and center. And you also mentioned something very important. Check varied JDs, the job descriptions, and analyze them. Get to know what does this require, what does that require. And also, I think maybe something that maybe Gilbert, as you've already mentioned, that Gilbert might not have maybe mentioned. Every role in IT has a security element. So it means that you need to bring those out during your interview and show how you've been able to secure those IT infrastructure that were given under your care. So I think that those are some of the things that can really help. Uh, so there are a number of questions in the chat, and let me see
There's
if
one
this
from
one.
Daniel that says fields in cybersecurity. So I don't,
Yeah,
that's not a question, but well, I am assuming, that Daniel is saying like which fields are there in cybersecurity and that. So there's quite a number of them. Security is very broad, I might say, but still, Kenya as a market is not very specific on, is not very specialized as a cybersecurity in the cybersecurity market. In Kenya, to be successful in Kenya as a cybersecurity specialist, sometimes you need, most cases, you need to have a broad view of various things in cybersec. Some companies are mature enough to separate those roles, that this person is a pen tester, this person is in governance, risk and compliance, this person is in maybe cybersecurity, defend and prevent, cybersecurity engineer. But mostly some of them are a bit, some of those jobs, most of them are a bit broader. So in Kenya, it helps to have an understanding of cybersecurity from multiple angles. And if you get the opportunity, please take it. But also, now going into specialization, there are areas that are very clearly specialization areas, and they're coming out, especially in big companies. One of them is data privacy. That's cybersecurity really, but it's not purely cybersecurity. It has a huge element of legal and the like. You have, I know somebody mentioned SOC analyst. So that is Security Operations Center analyst. That's more about monitoring of systems for security events and incidents. And then now you have things like governance, risk, and compliance, which is, are we meeting the laws, the specific cybersecurity laws? Are we compliant to the cybersecurity laws? What's our risk exposure and the like? But just from what I'm saying, I think, let me share a link here with everyone on chat. So the US has, I don't know, CISA has done a very good job in the CISA. What's CISA? I don't know. But they've built this nice framework. It's called, it's National Initiative for something. I think cybersecurity careers or something. So they have shown, let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is Cyber Career Pathway Tool. This is from the US government. It talks about 52 work roles that you can do in CyberSec. This is a very mature market. But a lot of these jobs overlap. So you have cyber workforce, yeah, you under cyber workforce, you'll have IT as a cybersecurity field, you'll have cybersecurity, you'll have cyber effects, cyber intelligence. But if you look at these roles, for example, let me concentrate on the green ones here. You have things like secure software assessor, cyber defense and forensics, systems security analyst, information security developer, and all that. But as you see, a lot of these roles interact with each other. I'll suggest you play around with this. Okay, did I click on that? Clear selection. Okay, so every time you click, for example, we've talked about privacy, right? This is privacy officer, compliance and management. And the orange, is this purple? Yeah, this is purple. So the purple bit relates to this. This is like cross-functional roles in cybersecurity. The green ones are purely cybersec, very technical. Yeah, information security manager, security architect, communication security. So all these interrelate with each other. You can find which path works best for you, where you are on the path, how best you can move from one role to the other, and the like. So for example, if you look at privacy officer, right? Privacy officer, if you clicked on privacy officer, it will show you the privacy officer, what their role is. So the privacy officer develops and oversees privacy compliance programs, supporting policy, incident response, and security executives and their teams. And then it talks about the related titles. So it could be chief privacy officer, privacy act officer, privacy manager, whatever that would be. And then you'll have like a PDF showing you like the career path documents. Then it shows you like the tasks that you'll have to do as a privacy officer. So you'll advise senior management, you'll advise on benefit cost analysis and all that. So this is a more structured way of looking at roles in cybersec, but I wouldn't say it's applicable entirely in things that we do on a day-to-day basis. To some extent, yes, you can play around with it and see, if I want to be a cybersecurity architect, what roles do I need? But usually, I would advise against trying to look at a role and then building skills towards that role, unless you're really very intentional about where you want to get to. You could use this to look at your skills and where they fit best, so that you see like, okay, these are my skills. I think I fit better as a system security developer, right? And then now you could go and look for jobs. Let's say you go on LinkedIn and look for information system security developer roles and the like. Because the challenge with trying to pick a field, unless you're just starting out and building the skill, is that you're going to spend a lot of time trying to fit into a specific role. And if you don't learn that, you find that maybe you get frustrated and things like that. So that's one. Another one is this site. Where's my chat? I have to stop sharing to send something on chat. So this is another site that you can have a look at. It's kind of a bit the same. So it shows you like career pathways and shows you like heat maps. Okay, this is built for the US. We don't have anything in Kenya or Africa for that set, but it's still helpful, right? This shows you like the different roles. This is simpler. This is simpler. Yeah, a lot of guys who are probably starting out, you might find this to be more digestible. So this one shows the roles that you could do in cybersecurity, right? You could start out in networking, you could start out in software development, you could start out in system engineering, financial risk analysis, intelligence, IT support. And then moving from these roles into an entry-level job in CyberSec, you could probably go in as a cybersecurity specialist. You could go in as and moving from cybersecurity specialist, you could go into an analyst role, which is a mid-level role, or a consultant, or a pen tester. Or you could start out as an IT auditor and move into a consultant or penetration testing role. Yeah, just selecting this will show you like different pathways, different movements that you can do in CyberSec and the like. And the advanced levels will be like cybersecurity manager, architect, or engineer. And if you click on a role, down here, it will show you the things that you need, the common job titles, the certifications that you need, and the skills that you also need to build in, things like that. And the skills that you also need to build in, stuff like that. So that's also another one. That was for the first question. Kevin, any questions you want us to address before we jump in again and look at some
Yeah, before we go back to the chat, there's this question about a day in your life as a cybersecurity and privacy team manager. So maybe you can take us through how your day looks like.
Well, so I'll touch my day in different roles, right? So at a point, I was working for another Big Four firm in Kenya, and my role really, let's say, a day would typically involve, going to clients. Yeah, that would be like maybe some banks, mostly banks, and performing a review of their systems, a specific system for that matter. That would probably involve a pen test, a review of the security configurations. That would be maybe server configurations, database configurations, network devices configurations. Sometimes it will be doing an assessment of their cybersecurity programs. Yeah, holding calls with the client to understand how their cybersecurity program is set up, where some gaps could be, where we could, recommend improvements and the like. Then from there, I moved to work in a telco. Working in the telco, the role was slightly different. So it involved working with internal stakeholders, to understand the projects that they're doing, any cyber risk exposures that they have, and what we could recommend for them to do to reduce that risk, right? So currently, my role is not much different, still the same, just on a higher level, right? Working more directly with the clients, engaging with clients to understand their requirements, designing programs that we're giving to our clients, and making sure that those programs are executed as it's supposed to be done. Yeah. So technically, that's what I'll do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Nice. Hey, that is nice. So I can see some of the questions that I'd given you earlier. You've tackled them in one way or another. So maybe there's a question that someone asks here. Martin Nyaga is asking. Okay, first of all, Shadrach was asking what are the best sites to take a certification on cybersecurity according to your own recommendations? Which do you think?
Well, the best sites to take a cybersecurity course. I wouldn't say I've taken cybersecurity courses a lot from sites. I have studied a lot, blogs and stuff, and like done maybe some sites like, Hack the Box and Try Hack Me and the like to practice pen testing. But I wouldn't say they're course oriented, like step-by-step, courses. So I can't say I know the best sites that you can take certifications in. I think certifications you can do in any way you would like. You could pick up a book and do a certification. You could pick up some videos and watch and do certification depending on your preference. But to learn that, I mean, wherever it comes from, whichever site, whichever blog, that's fine. Yeah. So I guess it depends with what course you want to do. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say that is a beautiful answer by itself coming from you. Most of the time, maybe students are into this thing of trying to do a tutorial, a step-by-step kind of thing. But sometimes this gives a false sense of knowledge and skills because you've been guided all the way to the end. And sometimes real-world problems do not come with step-by-step tutorials on how to resolve them, right? So I saw a certain quote by a certain software engineer. It says a real-world problem is worth 10,000 tutorials. So you've really said it all. It shouldn't be right to say take this from this site and you get a role, you land a role, or you do that. So you really aced it on that. Yeah. You wanted to add something?
I mean, if you want to learn CyberSec, the best way to learn it is get out there and do CyberSec. If you can talk to someone to give you an internship, paid or not, and you get to do it hands-on, it's worth 5 years learning, right? So, and not just worth a long period of learning, it also gives you, like the background, like somebody is asking, how do I get the experience, that somebody is asking for? Sometimes we might go in and say, I want that job that's up here. And then they're looking down, they're saying, okay, but we're not seeing, experience. And they're saying, okay, but, I need this job also to get experience. So there are ways you can build that experience. There are internships that you can take unpaid, or paid. And you'll be surprised even when you take those internships that are probably unpaid or pay very little, you get exposure and pathways to grow faster than you would, trying to land that job right off when you start. Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you have a question that I gave you and I forgot to ask it.
Let's see the questions you gave me. Did I write them? I think I wrote them on a piece of paper here.
Sure, you can check them out. I might miss one, but still, as also Cliff checks that, if you have a question, can still let me check whether I can see the participants list and see whether I can see somebody who has raised their hand. If you want to ask something live, no worries. I can give you an opportunity to do that and ask you to unmute. So if you're there and you want me to unmute you, you can just raise your hand and I'll do that and you can get an opportunity to ask your question. Yes, Cliff.
Yeah, so I think one thing we touched on was membership to professional bodies, right?
Yeah, sure.
So membership to things like ISACA to ISC2, which is the CISSP, certification body and the like. So I think let's look at it from two perspectives, right? Number one, as an entry-level person, and maybe as an experienced professional, right? So as an experienced professional, I need this, to show my competency, to show that I meet ethics and compliance, standards and the like. But starting out, I think remembering a few years back when I was starting out, I'd look up to guys on LinkedIn and somebody, has these heavy certifications, CISA, CISSP, and CISM and all that. I'm like, oh my God, how do I get there? And probably back then I didn't have even enough money to register for such courses or even, join the memberships that are there. But it gave me something to look forward to. Yeah. I remember, I think joining ISC2, the Kenya chapter joining that was about 5,000 shillings. Back then, that was 25% of my salary. Yeah, I was probably earning about 20 or 25,000 shillings. So, but I really wanted to do CISSP, So I called the president. Then, I emailed him, I'd like to join the chapter. He sent me the account number and I paid the 5,000 shillings. And that was a foot in, It gave me that commitment to go forward and do what I wanted to do. So certification bodies are good when you're a professional because you need them. When you're starting out, there's something good to look up to. If you can pay for them, but I think starting out, the key is not to be in professional bodies. The key is to land a job. I think that's what we're discussing. You first want to land a job, the basics, get the basics out of the way, and then now you can start building on that to a higher ground. Yeah.
Sure, I agree with you. And I think that is why maybe even like bodies like ISACA, if they're having these student group program, they tell you you don't have to pay to be a member. Only the president or the person who is leading the club, let them be a member, and so that they can last with the local chapter and something like that. So as a student getting in, should not be a priority. The priority should be getting your basics, getting your fundamentals, getting your practice and everything. As a person who is experienced, you actually really need to network, know whether you can land a role in another organization. And the only way to get to do this is when you join these associations, attend the webinars, attend the conferences, and just get to interact with people who are doing similar things in the same field, that is maybe in the cybersecurity space. So I don't know whether it's after. Yes, Cliff.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about, the costly professional bodies. But when you're starting out there, as you're saying, there's a lot of other opportunities that you can get that are not paid opportunities. For example, you have your clubs in campus that are hosting events. They're calling guys from industry to come and give a talk, and all that. Definitely, without a doubt, take part in those and squeeze out all the value that you can get out from those clubs and their memberships and the like. Yeah.
Very true. That's quite true. And as you also, as a student, as you attend these events, report on what you've learned. Go out there on LinkedIn, post them, tag that person who was speaking. The moment they just like your post or maybe comment, thank you for gaining the insights, you already build, I can say, a web of networks, because next time you meet them, you can say, I attended this and you posted this. There's a way, I think there's a way Cliff maybe can tell you this. There's a time when we were in the annual conference of ISACA, I think it was last year, and I could see him interacting with so many people and starting off this conversation. I was just wondering, how is he able to interact with someone, almost so many diverse kinds of people, and start a conversation and act as if they've been working together as colleagues? So maybe you can shed light on how when you get into these forums, how you do it yourself.
So two things, right? there's so much value that you can get, by being curious to learn about what other people are doing and what the environments are like, what their companies are like. I mean, it's the way I would look at it is you have to give yourself permission, number one, to seek for help and support and ask questions from others. It's a mindset change, right? And apart from that, also you have to give back, not just take information and support, but you also have to give back that support. Yeah. So two things here. When you meet people, meet them at a point of, can you tell me more about yourself, right? What are you doing? That is really interesting. Can you tell me more about it? And there's so much you learn about people. And it's not just about them. It's also things that will help you along the way. Somebody tells you something, you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Maybe you were looking for a job and they're like, you know what? Probably a certain company is hiring, and they'll be like, the trick is you need to have 1, 2, 3 things. And you're like, yeah, I have those. Why not? Yeah. So, and it's just being interested in other people and the things they do and learning more about the environments, what they do on a day-to-day basis is good enough for you to strike a conversation with anyone and learn more always. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to be also time conscious. I can see it's already 9:03. We said we're going to finish in the next 12 minutes. So,
Okay.
but then again, as you've said, it links up to what you said in your presentation, that when you go to an interview, these people are human beings. So they remember when you interacted with them, maybe at a certain, whether it's a physical or a virtual conference. When you attend these sessions, don't be that person who you're being asked, is there a question? The only thing you're known for is you are just a name on the attendance list. Get out there, get out there, ask a question. Don't be shy. Maybe just get out and say, can you tell me more about this? I didn't know, just as you said it. And let me see if there's anything here. Okay.
Willie is asking, he's looking for a role in DevOps.
Engineering. Mm-hmm.
So Willie, I don't know where you are in your career. I don't know where you're looking for the roles.
Willie, if I don't know whether you're willing to unmute. Let me see whether I can find him on the list. As we see this. Oh, I can also see Alan Kosgei has also raised his hand. Let's start with him first. Alan? Alan Kosgei? So as Alan tries to unmute, let me get to, yeah, Alan, I think you're unmuted now. Can speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Cliff and Kevin. Maybe the theme of the day was about securing a job in Kenya and beyond. So I've heard mostly about how to get it, and maybe a lot of people are asking, how do you get it beyond Kenya? So that's maybe what I wanted to ask Cliff and maybe Kevin. Yeah, sure. So I was a member of the cohort 3, by the way, cohort 3 EDTP. I'm sure Kevin, Mwalimu Rob, and everyone else who knows that. Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you again, Alan. With Alan in PDTP cohort 3. The program by ICT Authority, the Presidential Digital Talent Program. Yeah. So, landing jobs outside Kenya. So I think the approach is just the same approach, right? But you're doing it on a global scale. Yeah. So the 8 steps that we looked at, of collecting job descriptions, the companies you want to work for, understanding their requirements, talking to people, getting the input, and applying for those jobs, getting the job interviews, talking to people in the companies to tell you their needs and their requirements and all that. So it's just the same process. It's a generic process, I might say. It's the same process, but doing it on a global scale, right? And I think we touched on some things that what you do is equally important as what you don't do. Yeah. So, for example, which companies do you want to work for? And now questions start coming in like, why do you want to work for those companies? Yeah. Do you have some level of experience that meets the requirements that they require from the job description and the like? And now you start sieving down to companies that are the companies that I want to work for, willing to relocate me out of the country and things like that. So a lot of that are things that you will learn from those conversations with people, from understanding the companies that, the 1 or 2 companies that you want to work for. Mostly now at a global scale, it becomes very intentional. Yeah. I want to work for a certain company. You look for people on LinkedIn who work for those companies. You strike out conversations with them. You have a chat with them. If they come into the country, you meet them. You have those chats with them. All that. So it's the same process, just much more targeted, much more intentional on why you want to learn the job, what value you can give, what experience you have based on the job descriptions, what maybe certifications or courses and the like that you've done in the same field. So I would say
Awesome.
8 steps you take.
Awesome. And I think you've really touched on the subtle differences between the Kenyan landscape and the global landscape, because in the global landscape, you have to be really, really intentional on what role you're looking for, the company you want to get into, and really follow the steps in the similar way, because it is generic. But again, there's a difference when you're getting to within the Kenyan landscape. We are not that mature to the level where we are really specific on the roles. So you should know those different strategies. I can see Dennis has raised his hand, but before I do that, let us just look at some of the things on the chat. I saw you. I think that is when you posted the link. We are going to look at Willie at the near end. I think what Shadrach has asked is what I asked.
Let me touch on Willis for 1 minute, right? So
Sure,
it's the same
please.
process. It's the same process. Have you collected the job descriptions for companies in Kenya that have DevOps roles open? Have you analyzed those job descriptions? Have you understood their requirements? Have you met those requirements? Have you tweaked your CV to meet those requirements? Have you spoken to people in those companies to understand what kind of DevOps engineers they want, or even just for your visibility of, I am here, right? Have you done that? I strongly believe that if you follow the process, because I try my best in every area of life, to find a pattern of doing things and, do an algorithm to doing it. And that's the process the same process you would follow. Yeah, looking for a DevOps role. There are a few companies in Kenya which will hire for a DevOps role, because these are roles for some really mature companies. Have that list, 5 or less companies. Boil it down to 3 companies. And understand, now when you have those 3 companies written down, understand who are the heads of the DevOps teams, what tools do they use for their DevOps practices? Yeah. Have you spoken to them? I mean, because they're just 2 or 3 companies, their heads will be 2 or 3 people. Have you put yourself at a position where you meet them and have a chat with them, things like that. And yeah. technically.
Awesome.
So that will answer Willie's question. Someone asks, which course, with the course in cybersecurity, do you qualify for a SOC analyst? Same thing. Go through the 8 steps, collect the job descriptions. The job descriptions will tell you, do you qualify? Yeah, and the like, and all that. Okay, so somebody asked, yeah?
Yeah, there's Hudson. Yeah, you can go on. You can go on through the charts. We finish that, then we can look at.
Okay, yeah. Shadrach is asking that I share a bit about my journey into cybersec. So my journey into cybersec started in networks engineering, and I always joke about, you know, when I first saw my first laptop in Form 1, you know, I was like, oh man, I love this. This is what I'm gonna do. And fast forward to campus, I go to campus. My parents, you know, tell me, you know, pick a course you want to do. I got the bulletin, and the course that the IT department, the course, the major that had the most courses, most units was networks. And I was like, this must be the best. Yeah. So I did networks. I finished networks and I couldn't get a job in networks engineering. But I did an internship at KCB. You know, the guys were really kind. You know, they taught me, you know, how to go about networks. They told me to do a certification in CCNA, which I did. When I was doing CCNA routing and switching, there was a scholarship from Cisco for CCNA CyberOps. I did that. So at that point, you know, no jobs. I'm applying for networks jobs here. And because I've done CyberOps, I'm applying for cybersecurity jobs. And cybersecurity took off. And that's the way I took cybersecurity and never looked back. And I enjoy it. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe we can break a bit of the monologue between us and ask
Yeah.
Dennis to maybe ask something. I saw he's raised his hand for quite a while. Dennis Njule. You can see also Muhuddin Mohammed. Dennis, are you there? Awesome. You're unmuted. You can speak. I don't know whether I can hear you. Can you hear Dennis?
Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. I'm fine. I've heard the story of Mr. Cliff, and it resembles my journey. I've been for the last 10 years. I've been working as an IT support. In 2020, I did by yet, and after that, I have done cyber. Currently, there is a scholarship by Cisco from Kenyatta University. I'm doing network security, and I've also decided to go back again to do CNA, but it becomes very challenging.
Dennis, maybe you're putting your hand over your mic. We can't hear you clearly.
I'm saying, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Please go on.
Yes, I've been in IT for the last 10 years. I've been working as an IT support and training youth on the same. I decided to do CNA. After doing CNA, I'm not certified. I joined to do CyberOps, which I did. And I also did network security by Cisco. And I'm also doing the same now by different trainers, but from Cisco, Kenyatta University, which is a scholarship. But breaking into the job market, it has become very, very difficult. And as it is said, the cybersecurity roles are growing day by day, but getting, for example, going to the field to practice all that, it has become very difficult to go into the job market. I don't know how you can assist on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dennis, I think still I would send you back to the process that we followed. And I can assure you it's quite a solid process of doing things. Yeah, understanding what the market wants, first of all. You need to collect all those job descriptions to understand the companies and what their requirements are. I know it's a common pitfall that, we pick up certifications, we study, for example, CCNA, we do all the 4 modules, but we never get to do the exam. And you might have the skill, but HR never looks at it that way. So in the hiring process, there are two people who are hiring. There's HR, and there's the people who are the hiring managers. HR loves certifications, and you need to, as a priority, to complete those certifications and at least have them on your CV. Yeah. Then you need to go back and look at job descriptions, collect a number of them, and say, which companies do I want to work for? What are the roles? What are the what do I say? The activities they want you to perform once you are once you're working for them. And sometimes, it can be that hard to get in that you need to find a way in. And it's not necessarily through jobs necessarily. It could be, finding an internship with the guys, volunteering with their team, things like that. Once you have one step in, it's easier to have another step inside, So it just optimizing and seeing how best you can exploit the opportunities that you have. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Complete those certifications that you've started and get certified, because when you apply for jobs, HR will want them. If you can get hang out with, I know there's a number of guys who do like quite a number of things in Kenya, different groups like She Hacks Kenya, which is for ladies, but also gents get in, for those meetings and the like. And such guys, ISACA, sometimes sponsors students to go for their meetings. And in ISACA meetings, you'll find some very high-level hiring managers there. You get guys from banks, from telcos in Kenya and the like. So just optimizing that. Kevin, are we beyond our time?
Yes, we are 4 minutes beyond our time. I can see one question by Hudson. I think we can do 5 more minutes. If you can allow.
So let me share my screen 1 second, just to summarize this, right? You can ask that question first, and then we can.
Okay. Maybe let's have Hudson ask his question, then we can get to your sharing as we. So Hudson. I think usually it takes a bit of time for the audio to be connected. Yeah. Hudson, I think we can hear you. You can speak.
But I don't know whether you get it.
Yes. Maybe you can ask your question. Yes. I think we are struggling to hear you. Maybe you can put it in the chat. Then, yes. Yes, please put it in the chat so that it is easier for us to get to hear you. So as you do that, yes, please go on, Cliff. Please go on, Cliff.
Okay. Yeah. So to sum it off, right?
Yeah.
Simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's maybe Adson, can you just mute so that
Trying to mute Hudson, but I'm not able to do that. I don't know why. Yeah, I think I've been able to do it. Awesome. I've been able to do it. So you can go on,
So I would say that it's a simple process, not easy, but simple, right? Just three things that I would like to leave with you. If you didn't get the 8 steps, I think you can at least get 3. And the 3 are, number 1, get curious, get curious about everything. Sometimes when you talk to people, you're like, hey, that happened to me as well, this and that and that. But sometimes when you actually step back and say, tell me more about it, you actually be like, I've never known about that, Get curious to learn about how companies work. Get curious to learn about how teams work, what tools they use, what experiences they're looking for, and things like that. And that's not just in looking for jobs. That's like all around in life. Just get curious, I might say. Number 2, talk to people. You might think you know, but when you talk to people, you actually discover that you don't know. And then now you learn more when you talk to people. So if you're looking for a job, talk to people. I mean, go to the companies that you want to get the job, know who you need to talk to and talk to them. Ask them about how they do their work, what tools they use, what experiences they have, what you need to do. Guys will always openly tell you. So talk to people. And then number 3, try things. Yeah. You can't be seated learning things. It's good. But when you try things, you learn them more in a more concrete way. So always try stuff. You never know what clicks with you until you try it. I think we haven't addressed all questions in the chat, but I know there are some people who are saying, I don't know whether this is the path that I need to take or not. Get curious about other paths in CyberSec. Talk to people about the other parts in CyberSec. Try stuff in other parts in CyberSec. If you're doing SOC, go and do some pen tests. Go and do some GRC work. Go and do some data privacy work, wherever it comes from. Is it an internship? Is it volunteering work? Is it whatever it is? Go and try it out. So 3 things I would want to leave with you today is get curious, talk to people, and try stuff. Be crazy about trying stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cliff. I think you started out with an 8 and you did a super summary, and we'll finish off with this 1 minute. Maybe if you can handle it in 1 minute so that these people will not be on my neck that I left out their questions. There's some people who are asking about remote roles, remote jobs, maybe on touring or maybe in other places besides the US. And then I think Hudson was asking about how to get self-employed in a cybersec job. I think maybe consultancy or something. So maybe you can handle that all together, then you can close the session.
Yeah, so before I get to those ones, there's someone in the chat who's saying that Earth be doomed. Yeah, so I want to address that as a question. Well, your attitude towards life is very important in landing and getting a job, and it's very hard if you have, that attitude to land a job. I'll tell you for sure, because if I met you today and you felt that about me, you're going to treat me that way. And even though you might not tell me that, there's a somewhere deep down which is going to be telling me, this guy, no. So Samuel, attitude is very important. You need to do some yoga, sit down and dig deep and look at, I know it's tough looking for jobs. I understand it's really tough. Sometimes at the end of it, you get frustrated and you know, you can end up saying that. But sometimes when things are not working out, it's better to step back and say, if I've had 20 job interviews and I've not landed one, maybe, just maybe the problem is with me and not the jobs, right? And then now you start, you know, that process of, okay, what can I improve? How can I approach it better? But if you take the defensive position of, you know, then you end up, you know, giving up and demoralizing yourself. So don't stand in your way of getting that job that you want. Rather, try always to look at it from multiple different perspectives as well. Yeah. Sorry, I went into that and forgot the question you were asking, Kevin.
The question, yes, sure. The question was about landing remote jobs and maybe
Yeah.
getting self-employed in CyberSec.
So, I'm not an expert in that area, so I might not be the best person to advise you on this because I've not done remote jobs. I have not done my own gigs in CyberSec outside of employment, but still, I'll drive you back to the 3 points. Get curious, go look for people who have done remote jobs. Guys post openly on LinkedIn that I'm doing a remote job with a certain company in the US. Reach out to them on chat and be like, oh man, that's really cool. Can you tell me how you got this? Can you advise me how I can get it? And people will be always open to tell you, even though you've never met them before, right? So get curious, talk to those people and try it yourself. You know, if you've heard of a website that does remote jobs, come on, log into it, apply. You might just land the job. You have nothing to lose. So I cannot advise you on it, on the specifics, but still get curious, talk to others who have done it before, and try it yourself.
Awesome. I think that is a good parting shot. We should all get curious, talk to people, and also try stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't have put it in any better way. So again, I'd like to thank all the people who came in. As always, as with every webinar, we always have the people who ask whether there's a recording that is going to be shared. I can assure you that it's going to be shared to all your emails, together with the links that Cliff shared during the session on the pathways. We're also going to share the same. And as always, I look forward to having Cliff over again. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. We went over by around 15 minutes, but it was really worth it. You remember when I told you you thought an hour is going to be short. I mean, it's going to be too long, and it's become quite short. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming through, and see you on the next one. The good thing, once you've registered, when there's a next one, I'll also share the same to your emails. Thank you so much, and everyone, have a nice time. Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone. Bye.